Welcome to this new Addon Spotlight. In this Addon Spotlight we're gonna look at the PMDG's 737-700, which has been released yesterday evening. So after installation you can go to the PMDG Operations Center, and that's, I would say, the main tool to install the aircraft, right? If you download it, it will automatically be installed, but there are a few things which you need to keep in mind after doing that. So what you need to do, let me zoom in a bit, is you need to go to the aircraft and the liveries option. It's a little bit hard with zooming, and then go to liveries. In that section you will find all the options like the simulator, the installed product, but also the model and variant and the operator. Now the cool thing is that once you've done that, you can, let's say, select the model or variant which you want to install. So let me do that. So there are 3 variants available, as you can see: the 700, the 700 BBG, and the 700 BDSF. And for all of them there are several liveries. So you can see that in this case for the 700 we've got the airlines Argentinas, we've got the Air Mexico, the Alaska Air, Ryanair, SAS, KLM, Southwest Airlines. If we go to the BG version, we've got, let's say, a little bit less, but still a lot. A private release, we've got the Olympic Airways, the first Virtual Air one, the Boeing demonstrator. And if we go to the BDSF, which is the freighter, if I'm correct, that one contains the Alaska, Olympic Airways, and SpiceJet. And the easy way to install them is by simply clicking install. That will install a lot of additional content, so be aware of that. So you need to press install and then unfortunately select them one by one. There's no option to install all the liveries at once, and then make sure that you're waiting until everything has been completed before switching to a different model, because else it has stopped downloading the I would say existing ones. At least that's what I experienced in the past. So once installed, you will see that the bar will go away. It will do it, I would say, in a random order. In some case you need to click install again if you missed it. And then it will go, I would say, it will do its work, right? So it will take you a few minutes, depending on your internet speed, to download all these nice liveries. You can see that Southwest and WestJet do have multiple liveries, as well as United Airlines. For all the other airliners, we only have, I would say, 1 livery per airliner, but hey, that's fine, right? Once it's done, you can start Flight Simulator, and you of course can enjoy all the nice things, and that's what we're gonna do in a few minutes. So I will pause the recording now, because it does make sense to keep looking at, I would say, liveries being installed, and then I will continue the recording after I've started Flight Simulator. And we're back. It took a while, but it now has installed all the versions plus all the liveries. Take into account that it will cost you roughly 12 gigabytes of disk space, but then you will get, I would say, a lot of nice things, right? So if we go into here, we can see that all the liveries are successfully installed. So you can scroll to them, you can select them, and then start flying, right? As mentioned already, there are 3 versions. The BDSF is a special one, right? This one is the cargo version, and as you can see, there are some, I would say, nice things here, or at least the title says cargo, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if this is really the cargo version. So let's see in a few minutes. Then we've got the BBG version. This is a special version. I think this version is kind of a private jet version compared to the cargo versions. The cargo version is specifically used for cargo stuff. Then we've got the normal 737, which is used for, I would say, both handling cargo and passengers. And then this is the special version, which is, I would say, kind of a big private jet for those who can, say, spend a lot of money buying their own aircraft. So which one shall we select? Well, let's go for the PMDG house blended. You can see that there are several options, right? You've got the house split skimmeter winglets, and you've got the blended winglets. So let's first go for this one. So we selected it here, right? So let's select an airport. Let's go for skip all, and then select one of the parking spots over here, and then press fly. Take into account that the first time you load this aircraft, it will probably take some time because it needs to load a lot of content. So I'm gonna pause recording again, and we will continue with this video when we're back inside the aircraft, or probably we will start outside of the aircraft. So it has finished loading, and look what a beauty it is, the 737. It's the special edition, right? Which means it's, I would say, kind of a private jet. So let's first look at the, I would say, external view, right? You can see a lot of details, right? As expected already, PMDG has done a lot of work of making their aircrafts really great, including the level of detail which you can see on the wings, right? Including the nose tab. All the details are, I would say, beautiful. Then if we go lower to the wings, you can see the engine, including the exhaustion, and this is again where you can see the level of detail, the usage, the let's say screws which are required. Then you've got the engine over here, including the warning signs, and of course the engine on the front. On the bottom you will see the cargo room. It's a small one, as you can see, and this is, I would say, the less detailed piece which you can see. But yeah, on the other end, right, who wants to fly from inside the cargo room? Probably no one. Continuing with trip, you can see that the signs here are pretty clear. Also a lot of, I would say, components being here. By default the cable is attached to the aircraft. Wheel blocks are in place. Nice PMDG cars are in place, which allows you to, I would say, board the airplane pretty easily. So let's do that as we speak, because I do think that I would have never guessed that you can eat fruit in the or vegetables, I should say, right? No, fruit in the flight simulator, or eat a croissant or drink coffee. Well, in this case, Asobo has added so much detail that they included, let's say, coffee, croissants, and if you go further back, you can see bananas, apples, etc. If we continue our trip, and then we will fly a little bit lower, we can see another, I would say, room with a lot of detail, and then this is, I would say, probably for the supporting staff, which are in the back of the airplane. Here you can see also that they added a lot of detail to the, I would say, kitchen, etc. Some of the letters, like these ones, are a little bit vague, but maybe that's done for a reason. So that's pretty cool. Toilet, it's occupied, right? If you go into the toilet, we have seen some developers, would say, adding the toilet, but in this case PMDG has not done it as we speak, right? Because you are simply going to the outside of the aircraft. Continuing our trip. Now let's first go outside again. We can see the other wings, and then if we go to the back, we can see also the level of detail, including warning signs on the doors. And then this is the back of the aircraft, right? The exhaustion pipes, the tail. Continuing our trip on the top, we can see the different lights on top and the different instruments on top. And that brings us to the cockpit, right? So let's go inside the cockpit. So this is the cockpit. You can see a lot of detail here. There's one piece missing, right? That's the electronic flight bag, also known as the EFB. There was an announcement that that will be added in the future, but there is enough, or there are enough toys which you can, I would say, use in this aircraft. This is, I would say, the fuse pane, which you normally don't need to touch. Then we've got the spotlight, we've got the instruments over here, including the light adjustment options, the yoke, of course, and on the yoke there are some tips which you need to follow, right? It's kind of a short list, short checklist which you can use, and you can easily hide it, right, by pressing the option. The difference here is normally when you click the hide yoke, it will completely hide it, but in this case it will, I would say, bring the yoke down, which will still make the other options accessible, right? Including all the meters, like the clock. We can see the speed and altimeters. The weird thing is that the speed is set to 45 currently while we're standing still. So maybe that's a bug which will be fixed in the future version. By resetting the altimeter, we can see that it goes to a correct position, so that's cool. The fuel quantity alerts for the fuel for the auxiliary view. And then we have the steering guard to, I would say, prevent that the steering wheel on the front will start to move. Then we've got the main panel DUs and the lower panel DUs, right? You can select which one you want to view. For example, the out BD, PFD, or one of the other options. So that's cool to see. The warning lights, including the fuel control, in this case, and the electrical failures which are happening. And then over here we've got the barometers which you can set. We've got the multiple options which you can use to, let's say, adjust the settings or adjust the view, which is shown in here. Be aware that the weather radar is currently not included, but that will be done in the future. And then in the center pane we've got the autopilot, including the course, the speed, the N1, the speed, already discussed it, the C/O. I'm not sure where it's being used for because I didn't read the manual, of course. And the option to change those settings, right? We will spend some time on the autopilot in a future video, so it's just an overview in this case. Then we've got the auto brake settings and also the fuel flow settings, which are set here, right? The auto brake, really useful when taking off, then it will automatically, I would say, decrease the speed. And also when landing, it will automatically press or apply a brake pressure. The different displays, this one we already discussed, right? It's currently set to 130 IS speed, so knots, and 10,000 feet. That's based on the values which we define in the autopilot. Then we've got the radar here. In this case, you can see that neither 4.1, 4.2 is programmed, and also TCAS is set to off, so we don't detect other aircrafts. So be aware of that. In case these nice instruments will turn off, you can still use these meters to figure out, hey, which direction am I flying, and also to figure out, okay, which altitude I'm flying. And also here we've got the barometer set option, which also shown here. And we've got, of course, have the 4.1 and the 4.2 ones, which you can use to, let's say, navigate correctly. In the center, we have the information about the engine. So currently it's low pressure, right? Because we didn't start the engines. We can see the fuel quantity, total fuel quantity. And once you start the engines, these, of course, will start to, let's say, increase. Then we've got the landing gear option. Nothing to say about that. And on the right side, we've got the same displays as on the left side. There are some options here which we or do we have everything here? No, we don't have everything here, right? The ground proximity options are shown here for the co-pilot, while they're not being shown for the pilot himself. And then we've got the nice display right here, and we've got the spoilers which we can use. So the throttle, spoilers, the flaps, of course the stabilizers, stabilizer trims, and all the equipment to set the radio navigation. Also make sure that we can activate the cargo fire in case fire is happening or fire is burning in the cargo. We've got the other fire alarms, also the APU fire. So these are all related to emergencies which you hopefully don't need to touch. And speaking about that, there are several emergencies which you can activate, which we didn't discuss yet, but I will show you in a few minutes. Other things, the yoke counter, so counter 3 and counter 2. I'm not sure where this is being used for, but that's something we will figure out when flying it. And then of course you've got the option here to disengage the autopilot. Inside the menu you've got several options, including the PMDG setup. So you've got the aircraft option, and then you can go to equipment and then validate which options you want to enable or disable, right? For example, you want to activate auto landing, you want to change from Collins to Honeywell, you want to set the wing level, the heading selector. Those are all options, and you can see it are a lot of pages. In total it are 15 pages. And to go to the next page, simply hit the next page button here, which will bring you to several menus which you can configure and also define multiple options in this aircraft. So you can really see that this is really value for money, right? A lot of time has been spent to, I'd say, develop these menus. So really cool to see. including optional equipment. Really cool. So if we go back, we can go to the restore original option that will restore the settings to the, I would say, default options as you would expect. But you can still go to the PMDG's options menu. Including options menu also contains the simulation, right? What if, for example, in this menu you can configure, okay, hey, what are the failures which can happen? Engine oil use last, on or off, sync captain and FO EFIS, right? That means that you're syncing the co-pilot and captain settings. The IRS options, too much to discuss in one short video because this is, I would say, I'm really amazed by all these settings which you can do, right? So you can really see that if aircrafts do cost, I would say, a little bit more than you hoped for, you will get a lot back for it. So including a lot of options menus, so they even thought about that. Returning to the menu, we can select the FS actions. For example, we can close the doors using these options, right? Or open the doors if we want to do that. We can change the payload, and payload simply is the maximum passengers which you want to take and also the cargo which you want to take. You can configure the fuel. In this case, ground services, you can release or activate ground services like the ground power, or maybe you want to remove the stairs. That's going to be all done via this menu. So I'm waiting for someone to create, I would say, probably an add-in here where you can access those options. That would be, I would say, another helpful thing. Else you need to do everything via this nice display, which again is an option, right? Pushback can also be activated here, but for those who are looking for a pushback tool, I definitely recommend you to use the pushback toolbar, which is, I would say, pretty nice. Auto speed or auto cruise, you can define multiple settings. So a lot of things which are really useful and which we're gonna look into, let's say, future version. Then we've got the FMC. The FMC allows you to, let's say, set the direction, but also allows you to go to the different pages, right? The FMC is currently not set correctly, so you probably need to set that. So position in it, right? You need to go to the different pages, make sure that your alignment is correctly set if you want to use it. Then go, of course, to the route where you can configure the route. You can request a flight plan, as you can see here. So if you press this option, you can go to the PMDG 737 route files. That's another video which I will post I would say, pretty soon. How to create your route files and load them in the PMDG 737, because that's a little bit different, maybe compared to what you are normally used to. With that, we've got most options, including the FMC. That's the one we already discussed. The FS actions, right? Let's, for example, open the doors. We can say close the door, and then it says closing, and then if we go outside, you can see that the door closes nicely. Then you still need to remove the stairs, right? Don't make the error of flying away or taxiing away, because then you will hit the say stairs, and that's probably not something you want to do. So this is just one of the aircraft types, right? So let's go back to the main menu and then select one of the other ones. This one looks really nice, right? The other ones are looking kind of the same, except that the inside might be a little bit different. For example, the cargo one, well, as the name already mentions, only can be used to transport cargo. So we can go into the aircraft selection, then make sure that we're selecting the correct one, and then you can change the liveries like you always are used to do. So we're gonna use this one, winglets. Well, let's select the Alaska Airlines. This is what all aircrafts have similar, right? So you can configure the payload in the main zone, which means simply the passengers. Well, in this case, only the cargo, because there are no passengers. You can configure the cargo forward and afterward, the pilot and the co-pilot, and then several additional points, which we'll have a look at once we're, I'd say, in the aircraft. The failures are the same as I would say you are used to have in aircrafts, like the ignition, the fire, the fuel pumps, the oil systems, which are, I would say, failing for all the engines. Complete failure if you want to really challenge yourself. And then, of course, the customization options. So in this case, we selected the cargo one. So let's park the aircraft again at the gate, or at one of the gates. And let's see how this one looks like. Again, cockpit probably looks like the same, but the other part probably looks a little bit different. So let me pause the recording because Flight Simulator has just crashed, not a good sign, and then restart Flight Simulator, and then we will have a look at the cargo version. So Flight Simulator has restarted luckily, and we loaded successfully the cargo version of the 737. You can see that there are a lot of difference, right? All the windows are closed, and also you can see that there are different, I would say, ground surfaces now closer to the aircraft, right? To put some baggage in it. If we go inside, you can see, I would say, the same detail has been applied, right, as already a bit expected when looking at the, I would say, private jet version. If you go into, I would say, the cockpit itself or the cabin itself, you can only see walls, and you can see the different compartments or the different containers being added until you hit the cockpit itself, which is accessible only via this door, right? And then we can see the stairs again. There's a nice door over here, which is closed by default, but you can open it if you want, and you can do that by using the options inside the aircraft. Let me show you where you can do it. You need to do that. Let me move to a different view. Using the options, of course, here. So you can go to the FS actions and then go to the doors, and then you can see that this one is closed, or this one can be closed and this one can be opened, and also the other one can be opened. There's one door which you can't open, that's at the back. So if we now go back to the outside, you will hopefully see that the door is opening. Yeah, one of them is opened, right? You can see it clearly, and now you can see the containers in there. The other one is still closed. I would have hoped that it would open also, because I saw some pictures that it should be you should be able to open it. Maybe go to the next page. Oh, here, that's the cargo main door, and you can also open the equipment hatch. So if we now go outside, we will see that the large door slowly opens, right? It takes some time before it's opened. The cargo hatch, I'm not sure where that one is located, so let's see if we can find it. Maybe it's this one, because this one was closed, I think. Yeah, so that's cool, right? So you can see that the cargo version is completely different. It has some more options when looking at the doors, right? That's, I could say, kind of makes sense, because you've got special equipment also. And of course you need to have a way to load the cargo into the aircraft. One thing I'm really wondering is if there's also a special, I would say, ground service which will make it possible to unload that. So let's see. Ground services. This is the stairs, the power, maintenance van, view truck, forward galley. Maybe it's this one, not sure, let's see. Then we've got the forward loader. Probably this is the one, or not. No, those are the loaders which we just saw at the side of the aircraft. And then we've got a pallet loader. Let's select this one, and this is the pallet loader, right? So that's the one which will load the pallets. So here we've got the catering, which is bringing our food, and then hopefully we should see the oh, there it is already. It's a fully automated, right? They forgot to add the person, and that will simply load the pallets into the aircraft. So besides, I would say, having a great airport or aircraft, sorry, you also have, let's say, a huge amount of additional ground surfaces which you can use to load and unload the aircraft. So I'm wondering if it will load something, because we didn't add any, I would say, load to it, so I don't expect much to happen, to be honest. So this was the second type, right? So this was the cargo type. Let's move on to the, let's say, normal passenger one, and let's hope that, keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't crash. So what I will do is I will select it, and then once selected I will load it, because it again will take some time because it needs to render all the stuff the first time you load the aircraft. So I'll only show you one which I'm picking. So I'm selecting this one, then I'm selecting KLM, select the airport parking, and then press fly, and then I will pause recording and will continue recording once it has loaded successfully. So it has loaded the passenger version of the 737. As you can see, it's with the KLM livery. It's with the KLM 100 livery, right, for the let's say celebration of KLM 100 years. From the external view, right, it would say there's not much changes, right? We can see all the windows are open again. We can see the stairs already at the I would say to enter the cockpit or enter the cabin. And let's see what's different, but probably we can say keep this one short, because this one is, as already mentioned, is containing the stairs. You can see that all the stairs are kept the same, right, including economy, etc. So economy, let's say business class, maybe there's also, I'm not sure if there's even distance between those. Maybe, yeah, there is more distance if you look at this. Also the, I would say, floor nicely decorated, some blue lighting on top of this. You can't press these buttons, right, because this is the part which hasn't been modeled that in that, I would say, level of detail, sorry. Going to the kitchen, right, the same things are applicable here as for the other aircrafts, and then we will arrive at the cabin itself. Are there much changes here? Well, not really, right? There are some options, of course, which are different compared to the cargo version. If we select the FSX options, you have the doors, which are, I would say, a little bit different, right? The overwing exits are also open, or you can open them. So let's do that. You can do the pushback, the payload again here, right? To, I would say, add passengers to the aircraft and also to set cargo. The cool thing about this one, and that's one which I didn't see yet, is that you also have an option to set it to random, right? So if you set it to random, it will simply randomly select passengers and randomly set the payload of the aircraft, which is cool. Other things, maintenance, etc., is all there, right? So you can, I would say, look at the service, the hydraulic fluid, the engine oil, reset the engine EGT, the fire, refill the fire bottles, oxygen bottles. Not sure if that really does something. So let's have a look at the outside of the aircraft. Maybe some service truck comes in now. Again, right, you can see the PMDG stairs close to the aircraft. We opened one of the doors, right? Oh, here it is. We opened the emergency exits. So you can even open the emergency exits, which will allow people to leave the aircraft in case of an emergency. The fuel options or the fluid options doesn't look like to, let's say, add something as we speak, but I would say it's nice to have, right? I do think that they are more concentrated on the other options. Maybe we simply need to wait a little bit longer. We can release the ground power. We can request the air conditioning unit. So let's do that. Let's see what comes down. Probably it's busy at the airport. Oh, there it is. There's already a truck coming. So you will see that sometimes you need to wait a little bit longer before stuff arrives. So really cool to see. This is the passenger version. We looked at the cargo version, at the business jet version. To be honest, I'm really impressed by the level of detail of all three versions of the aircraft. and I really look forward to flying with these aircrafts. So keep an eye on my channel for some more videos, for example how to use a pilot and some other videos related to this nice Boeing 737 created by the people from PMDG. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to add them to the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.